I took a break from uploading in order to gather some of my best video ideas and release them during 1 week. I plan to start taking YouTube and my manga even more seriously than ever before. I'll be uploading chapters of my manga for free on webtoons and maybe even other sites as well. I'll also try to upload very frequently all throughout summer, maybe a video a week at minimum. I've even created a Patreon to push myself to earn patrons and show my dedication. I would like to eventually become a full-time YouTuber and mangaka, so all support is greatly appreciated because my fans are integral to my success in both fields. My content might slow down as my personal life brings new challenges, but I hope you all will continue sticking with me as I try to break boundaries and seek out my dreams. Natsu Rendan will begin shortly. This arc begins the same as the reconnaissance mission arc until the sparring with Yamato. After Naruto and Sakura get mad at Sai, the team goes to relax. When Sai leaves, Naruto goes into his bags and takes some items out of it to mess with him. He goes to Sakura to tell her about it when Yamato comes up behind them. Naruto apologizes, claiming it's just a joke, but Yamato reveals that he was sent on this mission to watch Sai. Yamato explains who Danzo is and that Sai works for him. First, the team reads a letter designated to Orochimaru. Yamato theorizes that Danzo sent Sai as a middleman between him and Orochimaru so that they can work together to destroy Konoha. Next, they read his picture book and the analysis goes the same way as in the original story. When Sai returns, Naruto gets mad at him and the conversation starts off the same as the one in the hideout from the original. After Naruto brings up fake smiles, Sai decides to tell them everything. The conversation remains the same, ending with Sai saying that he couldn't remember what he wanted to draw. Yamato reveals Sai's bingo book, explaining how they work and showing Sasuke's face in it. Yamato ties up Sai and the conversation is also similar, except since Sai hasn't met Sasuke, he only assumes that Sasuke doesn't care based on his actions. Naruto gives a speech and inspires Sai to change. Sai announces that he wants to see what bonds are made of and decides to help Naruto and Sakura bring Sasuke back to Konoha. The next day, the team executes their plan. When Yamato is disguised as Sasori and approaches Kabuto, Orochimaru doesn't come. After discussing their plans for a short time, Kabuto cuts Sasori, revealing that he actually works with Orochimaru and that the mind spell was undone by him. When Naruto, Sakura, and Sai appear, Naruto asks where Sasuke is. Kabuto tells them that Sasuke has already left after killing Orochimaru. Kabuto then gives them a book with all the intel that he and Orochimaru have gathered on the Akatsuki over the years. Team Kakashi is confused. Kabuto explains that Orochimaru wanted to get rid of the Akatsuki and that he's giving them the book to help Naruto as a token of thanks. The conversation goes the same direction as in the original Itachi Pursuit mission arc, with Kabuto explaining how he lost himself and his current goal to surpass Orochimaru. Naruto and Yamato attack him, but he escapes, saying that he'll fight Naruto once he's mastered his powers. When returning to the village, Sai suddenly remembers what he wanted to draw. After finishing it, he smiles and says that is what he wanted to show his brother. The picture is of him and his brother holding hands. The team smiles back and Yamato is happy that they're all finally getting along. When they return to the village, Sai has the same conversation with Danzo, asking to stay on Team 7. The next day, Naruto goes out for ramen with his team when he meets a familiar face. Sasuke greets Naruto with his usual insults and Naruto and Sakura stare with disbelief. Sasuke asks where Kakashi is, but Naruto and Sakura flood him with questions. He tells them that he's killed Orochimaru and Itachi, meaning that he accomplished his goal, leaving nothing left. But then he remembered that before Itachi killed his clan, he wanted to join the military police. This gave him a new goal, to protect Konoha from threats like Itachi. Sasuke then announces that his new Nindo is to do anything to achieve justice. Sai introduces himself as the new member and Yamato introduces himself as a temporary squad captain, having worked with Kakashi in the Anbu before. Sasuke goes to meet Kakashi as the others go to report the news to Tsunade. Naruto and Sasuke are still Genin, but their power and abilities are at least on the level of Chunin. Instead of making them go through the exams again, she gives them a special mission to test if they're ready to officially ascend to the next rank. Team Kakashi without Sakura and Kakashi, and Team Gai are to go on a B-rank assassination mission with Yamato, Sai, and Team Gai, creating the two Genin. Their target, a man named Jama, has been confirmed to be hiring the Akatsuki for mercenary jobs. Their location is in Yugakure. When Lee meets Sasuke, he tells him that even though he's defeated Orochimaru and Itachi, he will still catch up. Gai encourages Lee's spirit, and she calls Sasuke troublesome, and Naruto agrees. Squad heads to the hidden steam village, and they are greeted by Rokuo. He asks if they're Konoha ninja, and explains that he's the one who requested the mission. He tells them that Yugakure is a peaceful village, and turns a blind eye to difficult subjects, such as this one. Rokuo invites the team to his house since it's nighttime. There, he introduces them to Yonro and Gota, his ninja squad. Gota explains that the three of them aren't enough to go against Jama, but they have been gathering information on him. Yonro shows them a map of Yu and points out where Jama's hideout is located. He warns them that he might have an Akatsuki member as a bodyguard. In Konoha, Sakura wonders how Naruto and Sasuke are doing on their mission. She then goes out to train, practicing her summoning jutsu. The next morning, Team Kakashi goes out to get breakfast before the mission. On their way there, they run into Kisame and Tobi. When Sasuke sees Tobi's Sharingan, Amaterasu activates and burns him. Kisame notices them and Naruto rushes in. Naruto has developed a new fighting style called clone combat, where he mixes taijutsu and precise clone timing in creative ways. Naruto uses clone combat against the Akatsuki members, and Sasuke comes in to help, unsheathing his sword. The two exchange blows with Kisame before the latter creates a dome of water to surround himself. The two back away. Tobi gets back up and is unharmed by the black flames. As Yamato and Sai are getting ready to assist, Kisame laughs at how coincidental it is that he would meet two Jinchuriki in such a short amount of time. Naruto demands that he explains, so Kisame tells him that they recently captured the four-tailed Jinchuriki. Naruto has flashbacks of when Gaara died. His pupils begin to change as he asks them if they killed the Jinchuriki. Sasuke and Yamato tell Naruto to calm down, but Kisame's confirmation sends Naruto into a one-tailed cloak. He runs at Kisame as the other three get back. The Akatsuki member uses shark skin to absorb Naruto's red chakra. This makes his sword grow in size. Kisame slaps Naruto away, but Naruto comes back with a second tail. Sasuke tells Yamato that they should do something, but Yamato says that he has a plan. Yamato has a flashback of Jiraiya telling him about Naruto's tailed beast transformation. Kisame traps Naruto in a water prison, but Naruto gains another tail and breaks free. Wood wraps around and retains Naruto as Sasuke and Sai take care of Kisame. Sasuke releases snakes from his shoulder, and Sai uses his ink lions. Yamato uses the Hokage-style Elder Jutsu to suppress the Nine-Tails chakra. Once Naruto is back to normal, Yamato creates a wall of wood between his team and the Akatsuki, allowing them time to retreat. Naruto wakes up and asks what happened. Sai explains that he lost control and transformed. Naruto remembers what he did to Jiraiya and is in shock. Yamato tells him not to rely on the Nine Tails, with a speech similar to the original one in Tenchi Bridge arc. Additionally, Yamato reminds Naruto that he's being graded on the mission and if he messes up, he won't rank up. Team Guy returns to the house, asking about the destruction of the village. Yamato explains that they ran into an Akatsuki member, and Naruto uses Jinchuriki powers. Sasuke asks why Yamato can use Wood Style, a Kekkei Genkai unique to the first Hokage. Yamato reveals that he was experimented on by Orochimaru. Roku brings some food for Team Kakashi, and Yamato goes over the plan. When the team arrives at the hideout, Sasuke summons a small hawk to scout the area. When the hawk comes back, he tells the team that Jama has a lot of henchmen. Yamato and Sai will deal with the henchmen, Team Guy will take on Kisame, and Naruto and Sasuke will kill Jama. Like in the Deidara fight, Tobi stays at a distance and comments on the fight. Yamato creates a tunnel for the others to infiltrate the hideout while he and Sai serve as a distraction. When they get inside, Neji uses Byakugan to spot Jama. He informs the team that there is a tough-looking bodyguard besides Kisame. Lee and Guy kick down the door, and Neji rushes in. Using his new jutsu, chakra needles, Neji fires from Tenketsu in his fingers and blocks the chakra of all the henchmen. Team Guy and Kisame take their rematch outside, while Naruto and Sasuke are left to deal with the other bodyguard. She takes out a unique sword and introduces herself as Ameyuri Ringo, a member of the 7 Ninja Swordsmen of the Mist. Her sword is named Blast, or Wave Sword. Jama is trying to run away before Naruto asks him why he's working with the Akatsuki. Jama tells him that he feels safe if he's not on their bad side. Naruto angrily questions Jama, wondering if he can live with himself by being such a coward. Jama says he's perfectly fine with his lifestyle before running away. Sasuke summons a small hawk as Ameyuri's sword begins to vibrate. She swings it and releases a powerful shockwave. Naruto and Sasuke are sent flying back. Naruto begins to get angry, but Sasuke reminds him of what Yamato said about passing the test, calming him down. Kisame summons 3 clones, making enough to take on Team Guy. Lee and Neji try to use taijutsu against their clone, but Shark Skin is too dangerous. Tenten attacks from afar with ninja weapons, but it's not working. Kisame summons his C again, and each of the clones use Shark Bomb Jutsu on their opponent, worrying Guy. Jiraiya and Kakashi meet up, and the latter expresses his worry for Naruto. Jiraiya tells Kakashi that Naruto broke his chakra limit through sheer hard work over 2.5 years, doubling his chakra reserves. Kakashi expresses that it's impossible to do such a thing, but Jiraiya says he thought so too until Naruto did it. With Naruto using clone combat and Sasuke using a fire chakra flow on his sword, the two engage in close quarters combat with Ameyuri. Naruto's clone timing allows Sasuke and him to dodge the shockwaves while attacking. Sasuke's fire isn't having effect, so he switches to a lightning chakra flow. Since lightning flow uses vibrations, his sword can now match blasts. Ameyuri makes space and casts her water-style lion bomb jutsu. Sasuke activates the Sharingan and counters with earth-style mud wall jutsu. His wall has snake sculptures on it, like how Kakashi's has dogs. Earth is strong against water, so the wall is victorious. The swordsman uses shockwaves to cut down the wall and cast her jutsu again, but this time so does Sasuke. The two fire the same jutsu and are equal until Naruto summons his wind toad. The toad mixes a gust of wind with Sasuke's water line, overpowering Ameyuri's. The swordsman moves out of the way and is surrounded by Naruto's multi-shadow clone jutsu. Ameyuri uses shadow clone jutsu and creates 10 of herself, each with a blast. Naruto's clones are getting wiped out when Sasuke uses Chidori's stream, dispelling all of her clones. The area begins to get misty, and the two remember Zabuza using this attack. On the other side, Lee dodges the shark bomb by opening the first gate. Neji uses rotation to deflect it, and Tenten uses a scroll with an earth-style jutsu sealed inside to counter it. Guy is proud of his students and focuses on the real Kisame. Lee jumps straight to third gate and uses Leaf Tornado, a new technique where Lee spins extremely fast and delivers a barrage of kicks. Neji, realizing that shark skin is sentient, shuts down its chakra with his needles. He follows up with 8 Trigram 64 palms on his clone. Tenten summons 4 giant shurikens and controls them with her wires. Once she surrounds the evading clone with them, she uses lightning style scroll to fire a bolt of lightning that bounces from shuriken to shuriken until it hits the clone due to them being metal. Guy enters the 6th gate and exchanges blows with Kisame, but Zetsu shows up and warns the latter that they still have a mission, meaning that he can't die, so Kisame retreats. Sasuke stabs his sword into the ground and releases snakes to search for Amayuri. Their enemy comes from the sky with 2 blasts and strikes Naruto's back. Sasuke gets away in time, but he left his sword behind. Amayuri cloned her swords and attacked Sasuke, leaving Naruto bleeding on the ground. Sasuke releases snakes from his arms, but they are cut down quickly. Amayuri stabs Sasuke with one sword and is about to behead him with the next. As he coughs up blood, he holds onto the sword and wraps snakes around her arm. As she mocks him, Sasuke's arms come from the ground and hold her legs. She's shocked and hears a sound behind her. Sasuke's sword turns into Naruto, who slams a Rasengan in her back. Sasuke's clone and the blast clone disappear as Sasuke emerges from the ground. She flies away due to the force of Naruto's jutsu, but Sasuke catches up to her and ends her life with Chidori before she can recover. Naruto is upset that they lost Jama, believing that now they'll fail, but Sasuke reminds him that he sent a small hawk to track him. The two go into a forest and chase him down. Naruto pins him down and tells Jama that he doesn't need the Akatsuki to feel secure. Jama disagrees and tells him that they're too young to understand. Sasuke pierces his chest with Chidori's spear, angering Naruto. When he asks why he did that, Sasuke asks him if he forgot that their mission was an assassination one. Naruto remembers and is disappointed. The 8-man squad brings Jama's corpse to Rokuo and his team. The 3 are pleased to tell them that they've succeeded. When the squad returns to Tsunade, Yamato, Sai, Guy, Neji, and Tenten give them all good reviews. That, along with their mission success, allows them to officially rank up to Chunin. Naruto is still a little upset over the death of Jama. At the end, all of Team 7 visit the Land of Waves and meet Inari and Tazuna again. Diamond is Unbreakable is the best part of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I'll explain why. The first reason is the quality of the stands. Part 3 was the first to introduce stands, but you could tell Araki was still getting used to it. The biggest problem was some stands not having clear abilities. For example, Star Platinum and Silver Chariot really just relied on their crazy stats more than a specific ability. Plus, Star Platinum pulled a new ability from thin air twice in the manga and thrice in the anime. Chariot had some techniques that looked like abilities, but those stemmed from either his design, such as armor and sword, or his stats, which would be his speed. The second problem is that some stands, mostly from the main group, had special attacks. Platinum had Starfinger, Hierophant had Emerald Splash, Magicians had Crossfire Hurricane and Red Bind. This was a problem because it severely limited the creativity in battles compared to later parts. My last critique is more personal, and that is that the designs in Part 3 are the weakest. When we arrive at Part 4, all of these problems are fixed. All stands, including Star Platinum, have a clear ability that is completely separate from their stats. In fact, stats barely play a role in most fights. The abilities take center stage, and the fights are written around that. The part also doesn't give stands specific attacks. It gives them a general ability that can be used in multiple ways. This allows fights to get even more creative. When your characters only have one ability, to shoot fire onks and emerald shards, the only thing they can do is attack. But when your characters can fix anything, erase space that can result in teleportation, and make sound effects that have a physical effect, your characters can attack, defend, and support all with one ability. Every single part after 4 takes this approach to stands, and it makes the battles much better and more creative. Finally, I think all stand designs become much more consistent and colorful compared to Part 3. Part 4's next strength is one that relates to the formula. In Part 3, Jojo became dedicated to the stand of the week formula. A complaint I've heard a bit and agree with is that some stand users have no personality and are barely characters. This can be said about Tower of Grey, Wheel of Fortune, Strength, Sun, High Priestess, and Tenor Sax. Part 4 counters this issue first by having low stakes. In Part 3, the enemies are given stands by Dio so that they can attack the main group while they're traveling. But in the first half of Part 4, most of the enemy stand users have their own agenda. They're given stands by Keicho, but he doesn't give them any orders. His only goal is to find a stand that can heal his father, so all of them are left to their own devices. The low stakes plays a part because half of the stand users aren't being hired to kill the main cast. Each enemy has to have their own unique reason for fighting the heroes, which forces them to be fleshed out. Even if they are trying to kill the main cast, like Tanjiro, they are given their personal reason for this. And when characters aren't trying to do that, like Tamami or Yukiko, they create unique story arcs based on the user's selfish desires. There are even stand encounters that aren't even fights, like Pearl Jam, Achtung Baby, and Cinderella. There are stands that were hired to attack the main characters, but those are only Boy to Man, Highway Star, Superfly, and Enigma. So, the lowest stakes allow Part 4 to develop their antagonists and create unique encounters, but it also allows the story to switch back and forth between serial and episodic. Unlike most parts, Part 4 is episodic for around half of its story. This means that the arcs and the battles are disconnected from one another. Since the main antagonist of the plot is hiding for the first half of the story, a lot of the story is allowed to be focused on the characters just living their lives and encountering stands. There is a goal that the main cast is moving towards, but it is often pushed to the background. The serial battles are Aqua Necklace, the Nijimura Brothers, Chili Peppers, Achtung Baby, Killer Queen, Atom Heart Father, Boy to Man, Highway Star, Superfly, Cheap Trick, and Bites the Dust. The episodic battles are Lock, Surface, Love Deluxe, Pearl Jam, Heaven's Door, Rat, Harvest, Cinderella, Earth, Wind and Fire, and Stray Cat. As you can see, the ratio is pretty close. This is a positive, because the story can take the best of both styles. It can have an ongoing plot that builds upon itself, but it can also have varied and unique individual stories that stand on their own. My next 3 points are a little more subjective. The first is that the part has the best power for any JoJo protagonist. By this I mean that it has so much utility and can create some of the best fights in JoJo. Crazy Diamond's fixing ability is so broad and clear-cut that it can be used in so many creative ways. There are very few times that cause me to question how its abilities work, and he accomplishes all this with just one ability. Gold Experience is a close second, but not only does the stand have 3 different abilities, but its fights aren't as predictable, especially since they utilize a vast knowledge of plants and animals. Without going into detail, Part 6 has a pretty straightforward and creative ability that makes for some great fights, but it's not as good as these two. 7 doesn't have a broad ability, and 8 does, but its mechanics are occasionally questionable. The second point is that this part has the best final battle. I plan to make a separate video on the final battles of JoJo parts with stands, but about half of them rely on ass pulls, and almost none of them use their character's abilities so efficiently to the degree that Josuke vs Kira does. The third point is that this part uses the past JoJos the best. One thing I always found cool was how characters from the previous part could show up in the next part. Part 4 has both Jotaro and Joseph, and both of them, especially Jotaro, play satisfying roles in the story. My final points are extremely subjective, but I feel like they do contribute to my enjoyment. The first is that the part has the best art style in both the anime and the middle of the manga. Their faces aren't too geometric and stoic, and characters rarely have same face syndrome, all of which are problems I've seen before and after this part. The second is that I think this has the best cast in any JoJo part. The main trio play off of each other so well, and are such likable characters individually. It has both Josuke and Jotaro, 2 of my favorite characters from the whole story. Thanks to the low stakes and development of antagonists who can turn good, the characters also have diverse relationships. For example, Josuke and Rohan hate each other, but Rohan is cool with Koichi. Josuke, Okuyasu, and Koichi are great friends, but the first 2 hang out with each other more often and even became their own trio with Shigechi. I find the way characters mix and match to be very creative and entertaining. As I mentioned before, the antagonists have good characterization and development, but more importantly, I think Kira is the best antagonist in JoJo. The arcs where he was the protagonist were just as good as the arcs that focus on the heroes. The fact that he's just another stand user that is good at being a serial killer is very refreshing compared to the powerful supervillains of other parts. This personality and development are also a great addition. In conclusion, Diamond is Unbreakable is the best part of JoJo because it masters the use of stands, develops its antagonists into characters that can become supporting cast members, effectively balances episodic and serial storytelling, and has a great cast of characters. I'm tired of seeing battle manga being downplayed as fast food content. Out of all the genres and subgenres in anime and manga, the battle genre is the greatest and continually puts out amazing content, and I'm about to tell you why. To fit into the battle subgenre, the only real requirement is that conflict is solved through characters fighting. This type of fighting is usually martial arts or a power system. The basic formula for a battle manga is to have the story separated into multiple arcs. Each arc has the protagonist having a conflict with the antagonist, and at the end of the arc, the 2 fight. Formulas are usually looked at as bad, but that is not true. A formula is neither bad or good, it all depends on how the writer uses the formula and executes their idea. This battle formula is extremely effective and versatile, and as I go through different points, you'll see why. The next part is the themes. When I consume a story, I'm interested in the plot, characters, themes, and setting. The setting is the least important, but the other three are crucial. If a story isn't saying something, in most cases, the story has wasted my time. I need to be able to take some kind of message away when I walk away. Battle manga excel at this. They have basic and unique themes. The basic ones usually involve the importance of friendship, family, and bonds. As I said in my shonen vs seinen video, these themes may not be unique, but they pack a punch. They can teach kids helpful lessons or remind adults of lessons they've forgotten. They can and have impacted the lives of many of their viewers. Simple but positive themes like this can create so much pathos. These broad themes connect to the viewers on an emotional level that goes beyond just good writing. It is part of the reason why viewers have such a strong attachment to these stories in this subgenre. But these manga can also have unique themes. Because of the simple format of the story, battle manga can explore nearly any theme that the author desires. All they need to do is have two characters fight over it, with one side supporting the theme and the other side against it. The Enies Lobby arc can tell a story about wanting to live over sacrificing yourself for the greater good. The Sasuke recovery arc can tell a story about the difference between sympathy and empathy. The Soul Society arc can tell a story about upholding traditions versus doing what you think is right. The Jinchu arc can tell a story that asks whether or not a person who has taken a life can ever truly make amends. The chapter Black Saga tells a story that shows how evil and monstrous humans can be and have been in the past. There's almost nothing a battle manga can't create a message about. Furthermore, these messages are frequently executed clearly, leaving very little room for misunderstanding if the viewer pays attention. Because of this range between universal and mature themes, manga under this subgenre are allowed to appeal to a broader audience. Another story element that is great and facilitates the theme is the plot. The first aspect of the battle formula that facilitates the wide range of themes is the story arcs. These mangas separate their plot into multiple contained short stories that build up into a larger one. This allows for an author to choose at least one theme per arc, and when the story spans multiple arcs over 200 chapters, several different themes will be covered. The story arcs also support the story reaching long lengths because arcs can be improvised since each has a start and an end. A longer story leads to more messages. How many other genres or subgenres can accomplish that? As for the battle part, stories rarely ever run with a bare bones formula. Authors have created such unique and entertaining plots around the good guys fighting the bad guy base. There are plot lines that have been used by multiple different stories but always remain effective and entertaining. I called them super arcs in my Naruto Dilemma video. This is where two groups in conflict duke it out in one long arc. Each individual fight is usually gone into detail, and characters can even have multiple battles. Examples would be the Soul Society, Enies Lobby, and Sasuke Recovery. Tournament arc and exam arcs are also examples of unoriginal but successful arcs, but authors can get even more unique and create plots that haven't been really told before. The Fullbring arc has Ichigo joining a group of superpowered individuals in order to get his powers back, only for them to betray him and reveal that they were using him. Diamond is Unbreakable has an arc where the citizens are searching for a mass murderer who's living in their city and has killed their friend. The Balbod arc from Magi has main characters trying to solve a political crisis in the titular country. The list goes on. Battle manga can hop between genres for each arc due to the versatility of the plot structure. After one arc is finished, the storytelling can completely switch styles. Next is the setting. The setting can be anything. This can be said about almost any plot-related genre, but how many successful stories in one genre have you seen with vastly unique settings? Battle manga can take place in the real world like Kenshin, the real world with supernatural additions like Jujutsu, or a completely fantastical world like several popular manga. And with the fantasy worlds, the sky's the limit. So many different intricacies can be added to the world, and the longer the story goes, the more fleshed out they become. Stories can have ever-expanding worlds like One Piece. Stories can have different realms of existence like Bleach and Yu Yu Hakusho. Stories can have specific countries and nations like Naruto and Magi. Nearly anything can be done. These worlds also facilitate the unique plot lines and story arcs. Sometimes they may even have an effect on the themes. But my favorite part about any battle setting is the power system. Power systems are possibly the greatest thing to happen to action and fantasy stories, and battle manga consistently provide the best written and most creative ones. A good power system doesn't just make the fights even cooler than it already could be. It creates a unique and engaging way for the conflict to be solved in the story. The reasons for a character winning a fight become much clearer, understandable, and potentially predictable in a good way. When done right, the catharsis is so satisfying. It's a kind of satisfaction that no other form of problem solving can really replicate. Next are the backstories. The unique setting can really allow the backstories to go crazy. A good backstory will show you the key moments of a character's past that make them who they are in the present. They could also elaborate on a personality trait or give a character a goal. When your genre's plot and setting are so loose and versatile, you can write almost anything you can come up with and have it work. Naruto can write a character whose clan was slaughtered by his older brother and now wants revenge. One Piece can write a character whose battleships end up being used for evil and getting his mentor killed. Bleach can write a character who is willing to sacrifice his sister in order to uphold traditions because he is the role model of his society. And finally, battle manga are exciting. The kind of spectacle they provide in and out of fights is almost unmatched. Everything from the choreography to the power systems combine to create memorable and adrenaline-rushing scenes. In conclusion, battle manga have nearly unlimited creativity in the characters, plot, setting, and themes, along with other advantages that make the subgenre so dominant. Naruto is often criticized for contradicting his theme of hard work can beat natural talent because people believe that Naruto was blessed with special abilities and that he didn't work hard. A lot of these ideas come from misinterpretations and missing key details. In this video, I will debunk most of this claim by showing just how hard Naruto works throughout the story. The first criticism towards Naruto is that he was born with the 9 tails. This gives him a larger amount of chakra than your average ninja. While this is true, Kakashi specifically states that the QB makes chakra more difficult to control for him. This means that if Naruto did not have the QB, his chakra control would be much better. Based on the analysis of Team 7's chakra control, Sakura is perfect, Sasuke is a little flawed, and Naruto is horrible, wasting a lot of stamina in the process. Sasuke isn't perfect at building up chakra, so he ends up creating an extra 10% that is wasted. When it comes to activating a jutsu, his control is perfect, like Sakura, using exactly 30%. Naruto on the other hand wastes 20% when building up his chakra compared to Sasuke's 10 and can only use 10% when activating a jutsu, 20% less than Sasuke. Yet despite this, in the tree climbing exercise, Naruto was able to become almost as good as Sasuke in controlling chakra below his feet, and around a similar pace too. This is one testament to how hard he works. Based on this, we can assume that if Naruto wasn't a Jinchuriki, he would have learned to climb the tree either as fast as or even faster than Sasuke. Although he would lose his chakra reserves without a tailed beast, the only reason he needs to use so much chakra is because said tailed beast makes him bad at controlling it. Additionally, the 9 tails negatively impacted him socially. He was an outcast and treated badly for most of his childhood because of it. Furthermore, Jinchuriki transformations are negative, especially in part 2. During the time skip, Naruto almost kills Jiraiya with its power. In the Kazekage mission, Naruto's transformation causes him pain and Kakashi is forced to cut it off. On the Tenchi Bridge, this transformation makes him go out of control, damage his allies, force them to take cover, and physically harms him once again. Yamato is forced to seal it again. Against pain, he goes out of control and is only able to win after calming down. He also got lucky that no one was hurt because they moved out of Konoha. While all of these situations provide him with power, they also come with equally negative consequences. Next is his transformation jutsu and shadow clone jutsu. With this interrupted chakra control, Naruto was able to perfectly transform into an attractive woman by himself. No one taught him this jutsu and he mastered it alone. Although he couldn't transform into anything else in the first chapter, by the end of the Zabuza arc, he's able to transform into a Fuma Shuriken, and in the Chunin exams, he can turn into his teammates and even Akamaru. For shadow clones again, with his bad chakra control, Naruto is able to master one of the hardest jutsus to learn through hard work. While some may look at him being able to master a forbidden jutsu in one day as talent, it can easily be viewed as an exaggeration of the hard work theme, executed in the fact that he trained so hard that he mastered it in a day and could summon 1,000. This kind of exaggeration of effort can be seen when an unconscious Lee is able to stand up ready to fight at the end of his match with Gaara, yet no one considers that talent. Next is his summoning jutsu and chakra control. Jiraiya points out that Naruto struggles to control chakra precisely, and this is shown when he can only summon a tadpole. While it gets legs and arms after some weeks, Jiraiya gets him to use the 9 tails chakra and summon Gamabunta. While the 9 tails chakra is not something he worked for, it is also what prevents him from summoning the toad correctly. After this training, Naruto makes the 9 tails chakra his own, rather than Kurama simply taking control. He willingly controls it against Neji and Gaara. In his fight against Gaara, he uses the QB's chakra to summon Gamabunta, but he still isn't perfect, as he summoned Gamakichi before that. Using Gamabunta's chakra, he shows his mastery of transformation jutsu by turning into Kurama. Next is Rasengan. He trained for this with a little help from Jiraiya. Jiraiya gave him some advice like how to spin the chakra and where to focus, but Naruto put in a lot of work. Like we'll see later, Naruto uses creativity to get around his hurdles. In the first step, he takes inspiration from a cat and taps the balloon multiple times to make it explode. For the final step, Naruto once again uses creativity to solve the problem, this time by using a clone to form the Rasengan. He doesn't even master the jutsu until the next arc. Next is Rasen Shuriken. Naruto uses his creativity twice when training for this move. The first example is from Kakashi, who reminds him that the experience gained from a dispelled shadow clone transfers to the original. By using multiple clones, Naruto gains experience at a much faster rate. He trains how to use wind chakra to split a leaf. He also gets advice from Asuma on how to use wind chakra, which greatly helps him. Like when training for the original Rasengan, he trains so hard that he passes out. The same thing happens to him when he tries to split the waterfall. When trying to mix nature and shape transformation, Naruto constantly fails. It is only until Kakashi gives him the tip about looking left and right simultaneously does he decide to use 2 shadow clones. Next is Sage Mode. He trains for this the same way he does for Rasen Shuriken. Using his clones increases his experience exponentially. Like with all of his other training, he still struggles. First, he starts to master nature energy with the Toad Oil. Fukaku says that he learned faster than Jiraiya, but like all other instances, this can be attributed to the exaggerated reward of his effort. When he tries without the Toad Oil, he starts off by failing. When he tries to balance on the spikes, he initially falls off and needs to be saved. He's able to balance and finally perfect Sage Mode. Next is Kyuubi Chakra Mode. He doesn't gain this form through physical effort, but mental and emotional ones. His first step is to defeat Dark Naruto. He initially tries to fight him, but eventually decides to accept him as a part of himself, which works. The second step is to go inside Kurama and pull out his chakra. After some fighting, with B's assistance, he is able to start pulling, but Kurama's hatred temporarily stops him. With the help of Kushina's chakra, he is able to successfully pull it out, giving him a new chakra mode. Kurama was a blessing and a curse, but through Naruto's mental and emotional strength, he was able to minimize the curse's aspects. His Kurama Chakra Mode and Sage of Six Path Mode, I will not defend. Kurama Mode was achieved simply by befriending the tailed beast and learning his name. While it is cool to gain a power from character development, not only did it not require much effort, but the advantages he gains severely outweigh the amount of effort put in. As for the Sage of Six Paths Mode, he is simply handed the power by Hagoromo due to his character. At least both of these power-ups were earned due to his character and not just because he was inherently special. But that doesn't mean that he worked hard enough for them, especially considering the reward. Next is the Prophecy. In chapter 376, Jiraiya is told that the Toad had a prophetic dream where one of his students would bring revolution to the ninja world. This could be destruction or peace. Jiraiya is told that the kind of revolution that will occur is in his hands. Jiraiya had 3 students that he suspected could be the child: Minato, Nagato, and Naruto. People would try to use this as a justification to say that Naruto was always destined to save the world. In Naruto, Kishimoto puts an emphasis on how small actions can result in a big impact. The first example is with Sasuke. When Team 7 reunites, Naruto and Sasuke are about to clash, and he monologues about this while their roles are visually reversed. Then, when their thoughts are being displayed to one another, Naruto states that one bad move could have made him like Sasuke. The second example is with Obito. During the tug of war, Obito sees himself in Naruto's place, standing with Konoha. Then he envisions a future where he returned to Konoha instead, and this future even leads to him becoming Hokage. In both of these examples, a small decision would have resulted in a big impact. This is a Buddhist message that I went over in another analysis. Tying back to the prophecy, this small decision, resulting in a big impact, is Naruto forcing Jiraiya to train him. After Ibisu, who is supposed to be training Naruto, is knocked out, Naruto demands that Jiraiya, who knocked out his teacher, train him, being somewhat aware how powerful he is. After catching his attention with Sexy Jutsu, Naruto is able to get Jiraiya to train him. By making this conscious decision, Naruto accidentally made himself a candidate for the Child of Prophecy. If he hadn't taken the initiative, he wouldn't have been a candidate. Though it is later revealed that Jiraiya was supposed to be Naruto's godfather, and that Minato gave him the key to the tetragram seal. None of this means that Jiraiya was expected to make Naruto his student. It was ultimately Naruto's choice that made him a candidate for the Child of Prophecy. Furthermore, all 3 had the opportunity to bring about great change, and until the 2 failed and Naruto succeeded, the actual Child of Prophecy was unknown. It was only once Naruto decided to forgive Nagato that he became the definitive Child of Prophecy. Naruto's own actions made him a candidate for the prophecy and solidified his position as the child. This ties back to small actions and how one's destiny is in their own hands. If Naruto hadn't asked Jiraiya to train him, he wouldn't have become a candidate. If he didn't train hard enough, he could have lost the pain and allowed Nagato to bring about great change. If it wasn't for his empathy and persuasion, he could have failed to bring peace. The prophecy took effort on his part to fulfill. He wasn't just destined for greatness. Next is his Uzumaki heritage. What Naruto gains from this is a large amount of chakra. This is a genetic advantage, but genetic abilities have been long established as a normal thing in Naruto. All clans have unique jutsu and some have Kekkei Genkai. Naruto doesn't even have a clan jutsu. The chain attack against Kurama was activated by Kushina's chakra and it was her own jutsu. While not all characters have clan abilities or traits, Naruto having one simply puts him on the same level as ninja with clan traits and jutsu. On the topic of genetics, many will argue that him being the son of Minato gave him advantages, but there are none to be seen. If he was there to train his son, this argument might have weight, but neither Minato's genes or social connections benefited Naruto. As I said before, Naruto got Jiraiya to train him from his own actions. Minato never told Jiraiya to do so. Last is him being a reincarnation. In 670, Ashura reincarnating into Naruto is revealed. In 671, Hagoromo says that Naruto has Ashura's chakra and presence. The chakra is also brought up by Kaguya, who was able to recognize Ashura's chakra in Naruto. This is often misinterpreted as Naruto gaining Ashura's amount of chakra, but it just means that he has the same chakra signature as Ashura, allowing people who can see chakra to draw a comparison between the two. In chapter 525, the Tsuchikage senses Gaara's chakra and says it feels like the 4th Kazekage's. This is because they are family. Naruto and Ashura have the same chakra because the latter is a reincarnation. This chakra may also have an effect on personality because Ashura and Indra's reincarnations have similarities to them. The last thing that Naruto got from Ashura was his everlasting clash with Indra's reincarnate, so from a power standpoint, Naruto gains nothing from being a reincarnation, as opposed to popular belief. In conclusion, Neji was wrong. He said that only those who become Hokage are born with that fate, and that people are controlled by their destiny, but Naruto challenges this. The first way is how he inserts himself into the prophecy and chooses the ending that he desired. His fulfillment of the prophecy was due to his own actions, work, and character. The second is how he broke the chain of fated conflict between Ashura and Indra, which was fated to go on forever. And the third is how he went from loser to Hokage. Additionally, Neji proved himself wrong when he, a member of the inferior branch family, not only surpassed someone from the main family, but recreated the rotation, a secret technique that he wasn't taught. But back to Naruto, his hard work is never retconned. Being born as an ostracized orphan put him at a major disadvantage because he had no family or connections to help him train, putting him on a lower level than other kids. But with his hard work and perseverance, he was able to learn transformation jutsu, multi-shadow clone jutsu, summoning, Rasengan, Rasen Shuriken, and Sage mode. This tailed beast gave him some power boost, but it also hindered his powers, physical safety, and social life. His Nine Tails mode was gained through his character and mental and emotional development. His last two modes were sadly given to him without physical effort, but that doesn't take away from anything that he accomplished beforehand. Formulas have a stigma of being bad or lazy, but a formula is not inherently bad, it is neutral. What makes a formula bad or good is how the writer uses it. In this video, I want to take a look at 3 anime/manga that have very effective formulas. I'll be analyzing the formulas based on the story arcs. The first is Demon Slayer. The most encompassing formula is that Tanjiro is given a mission to slay a demon. When fighting this demon, Tanjiro learns about their past and feels empathetic towards them as they die. The first few arcs of Demon Slayer include pieces of this, but not the whole thing. For example, the final selection doesn't have the demon slaying mission, but does have empathy. But the first mission arc has a mission but no empathy, while the Asakusa arc has Tanjiro being attacked first, along with no empathy. The Susumi Mansion is the first arc to include all of these details, and starting at the Natagumo Mountain arc, the formula gets more complex. Tanjiro, Zenitsu, and Inosuke are given a demon slaying mission for this arc. During the arc, multiple fights take place and at least one of the Hashiras appear. The characters in the arc are placed against opponents that outmatch them and are pushed to their limits. Occasionally, a hero will die. Some form of empathy still remains from Tanjiro. This applies to the Mountain arc, Mugen Train, Entertainment District, Swordsmith Village, and even the final battle. The only 2 arcs since the Mountain that don't follow this formula are the 2 training arcs. This might sound like a bad thing, but it's not. The story found a simple and effective formula. As long as an arc checks off most of these boxes, the audience will be satisfied. The author doesn't have to focus on doing something completely different for the plot each arc. You just use the same plot, but change the setting, the demons, the empathy, and the Hashiras. From a writing perspective, this may seem like underachieving, but think about it from a consumer perspective. Have you ever heard fans complain about the story being repetitive? And if so, how many? The story is doing what the fans came for and just replicating it every arc in a fresh way. The story could have gone on for twice its length without dropping in quality, which is a huge benefit. The story might never reach new heights by just repeating the formula, but as long as the author doesn't do anything stupid, it will also never reach new lows. It will be consistent and the fans will stay satisfied. The second story is Kingdom. The first arc lays out parts of the formula, but future arcs establish it. The formula includes politics and war. On the politics side, Zhang is the protagonist, and he deals with the leaders of Qin and the leaders of other nations. This usually results in Qin going on a campaign or some kind of battle. On the battlefield, Shin is our protagonist. A minimum of 2 kingdoms have their generals and army face off against each other. There is usually at least one new general or upcoming general introduced in the campaign. The generals and leaders choose their tactics and adapt like a chess game, while Shin and the other soldiers go out to make a name for themselves. Shin may or may not kill an enemy general or leader. While I only watched the anime for now, this makes up a bulk of the story so far. The Rebellion arc laid out some of the pieces, but arcs that fully follow this formula are KO Campaign, Battle of Bio, Sanyo Campaign, Sanyo Aftermath, and the Coalition Invasion, which is where Season 3 is currently at. Once again, this story has a repetitive formula, but as long as the story does something a little new in each arc, the fans are pretty satisfied. The third story is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Since part 3, the story arcs within the parts follow the same basic formula. The main team is attacked by an enemy stand, and the heroes have to fight back. This is a pretty vague formula, and each part knows how to change it up, but the formula is consistently apparent in each arc. I'd say at least 70% of the new arcs with stands are structured like this. But even though it is loose, it still allows the author to take it easy on the plot and just focus on the characters and the fight. Part 4 is my personal favorite, and this part has the most static plot. As I've analyzed in another video, almost half of the stand battles are episodic and don't really play a major role. For the first half of the story, the characters are basically chilling and stand encounters come to them, yet I am still satisfied with the story. In conclusion, this is the power of an effective formula. It allows the author to relax on creating the plot, since all they need to do is take their formula and make it a little different for each arc. And when the story introduces this formula early on, viewers, especially fans, will rarely complain about it, as long as the arcs aren't completely copying one another. One thing I've noticed is that if a story starts with a simple plot, no one, including me, complains if it remains simple or if it gets more complex. But if a story starts with a complex plot, going simple feels like a negative. So with each arc writing itself, this leaves the characters and the fights as the main thing the author needs to focus on, which should be easy to nail. If you look at the best-selling manga of 2020, you'll notice that Demon Slayer and Kingdom have the top 2 spots. Is it a coincidence that 2 manga that keep giving the fans exactly what they came for hundreds of chapters have the top 2 spots? I don't know. The second Kira's introduction is one of my favorite scenes from Death Note. It is intense and exciting, so I want to break down the elements that make this scene so great. The first element that this scene uses is previously established information. The details the audience knows coming into this scene are that Light, or Kira, needs a name and face to kill. Many police officers have quit out of fear of Kira. The task force has fake IDs and badges to avoid getting killed. So Ichiro Yagami is in the hospital. Shinigami eyes will allow Light to see names just by looking at her face, but Light doesn't want to sacrifice his lifespan for that power, and the task force isn't aware of the Shinigami eyes. For context, this scene is shown from the perspective of the task force. The situation is that Kira sends tapes that appear on Sakura TV which demand the cooperation of the police. Kira proves his powers, and the force now has a goal of stopping the broadcast. The second element that this scene uses is a plot twist. This starts when Ukita dies on TV when he goes to the station. The task force and the audience are both surprised, but for different reasons. The force thought that Kira needed both a name and a face, while we were sure that Light would never make the Shinigami eye deal. After the scene ends, the answer is quickly given to us, and the answer is pretty logical. There's another Death Note user who has the eyes. This may seem obvious in hindsight, but the idea is cleverly disguised. First, Light isn't shown at all throughout this scene. Second, Light has been the only Death Note user for 10 episodes, so the possibility of another user wouldn't have been the first idea to cross our minds. Rather, we'd be thinking whether or not Light made the deal. Lastly, the scene is so intense and fast-paced that the audience doesn't have the time to think about the answer if they are focusing on the episode without interruption. The third is smart and creative solutions, a staple of Death Note. The problem is that the task force needs to get the tapes without showing their faces to Kira, who L deduces is hiding nearby. As a solution, Soichiro uses a police van and hood to hide his face from Kira. He then uses a gun to threaten the people and take the tapes. To get him out safely, L uses his connections to organize a plan. Police with helmets, blankets, and lights block the station, making the plan a success and returning Soichiro safely. The fourth is the fast pace. The pacing is achieved with story beats. A beat is one of the smallest measurements of a plot. Each new beat shifts the tone and controls the pace of the plot. When several beats are placed in quick succession, the plot becomes fast-paced. This scene has beats placed back to back, along with a constant revelation of new information to make for an intense ride. Around 2:11, the task force turns on the TV to see Kira. The tone is one of curiosity to see what he has to say and what will happen. About 2 minutes later, Kira proves his powers, making the force tense. About 40 seconds later, L comes to the realization that they can't let the broadcast finish. The force is frantic as Sakura TV won't pick up the phone, so Ukita drives there. 2 minutes later, Ukita dies on TV and the force freaks out, unable to comprehend how Kira can kill with only a face. About 2 minutes later, L is able to calm everyone down, but the situation looks hopeless. 22 seconds later, Soichiro is shown driving in his van and breaks into the station. This beat is epic and exciting, as not only has Soichiro gotten out of the hospital, but he's found a way to accomplish the force's goal on his own. Less than 2 minutes later, L organizes a plan to get Soichiro out safely. About a minute and a half later, Soichiro is seen walking to the exit under L's orders, and the audience is in suspense as to what L's plan is. 15 seconds later, The police coming together to stand against Kira changes the tone to one that is inspirational and hopeful. Even the anchorman on TV tells the viewers to stand up to Kira even though his life could be taken away at any moment. The scene ends a minute and a half later when Soichiro comes back safely. As you can see, the story changes the tone about every 2 minutes or less, making for a thrilling ride. Finally, the message of the scene increases the impact and gives a nice resolution to the conflict. The death of the officers and Soichiro defying Kira on TV inspires the other officers into action. They all quickly join together to reject Kira's intimidation, enforcing the theme of rejecting evil in spite of fear. In conclusion, the introduction of the second Kira uses established information, a good plot twist, creative solutions to a problem, fast pacing, and an inspirational message to make the scene incredible. I dislike Boruto due to the amount of problems it has. Some of them were placed on itself, but others were inherited due to being a sequel to Naruto. I'll start with the inherited problems. The first problem that came with the sequel, regardless of its quality, is that it was continuing a story that had ended. Naruto was written to end at chapter 700. The manga's final page even references the first page of the story, which is a nice touch. All of the villains are taken care of, and most to all of the plot threads were tied up. The Ninja Alliance had created an era of peace. People were satisfied, and I personally respect stories that know when to end and don't continue indefinitely. This leads to the second problem, because as a sequel, you would have to revive a story that ended. You would also have to create new villains and more conflict, even though the story reached a peaceful end. This would disrespect the efforts of the characters in the original. The story was intended to end at 700. Everything past that point will be improvised and unplanned, which usually leads to a less polished product. The third problem is power balancing. Like many stories, as Naruto reached its conclusion, the power balancing fell apart and characters became broken. But that wasn't too bad, since it fell apart towards the end. But now that you're making a sequel, the sequel almost has to create villains that are stronger than the past ones, otherwise the most powerful heroes won't have any challenge. You technically could come up with creative solutions, but that's not something seen often in battle manga. The ceiling has to be raised, and the broken characters will become even more broken, or you'll find ways to nerf the powerful characters. Both are obviously bad writing. The fourth problem is that continuing the story allows for negative changes. These can be bad retcons, character assassination, or disrespecting OG characters. By continuing the story, writers might feel the need to change details from the original just to write their sequel. The writers also have a chance to completely butcher the writing of the original characters and turn them from likable to hateable. Finally, they have a chance to disrespect the old characters and make them look like punks for whatever reason they might have. This not only does not sit well with fans, but it's just lazy and unnecessary. A minor addition is that characters who originally had a happy ending now have a chance of dying in the unnecessary extension. The fifth and final inherited problem is that it has the task of living up to Naruto. The sequel would almost have to be a battle manga and written in the same style as the original, thus people will always compare it to the original. Naruto set such a high bar, and after seeing Samurai 8, I don't think even Kishimoto is capable of replicating that kind of quality. So these are the inherited problems, but Boruto created a fair share of its own problems. The first problem was switching out the old for the new. Instead of continuing the story from the perspective of the characters that we knew and loved, like DBZ, Boruto decided to focus on a new generation. In order for anyone to accept these new characters, they would have to be as good as or better than the old cast, and since they're living in the age of peace with low conflict, there's less opportunity to create characters like Sasuke, Kakashi, or Itachi. The second problem ties into the first. Since Boruto wants to focus on the new cast, the plot bends over backwards to allow the new gen to take care of problems. This is an issue because realistically, the old gen should be powerful enough to deal with any problems that arise. This also ties back to the inherited problem of power balancing. Because the new gen is younger and less experienced, they aren't as strong as the old gen. This leads into problem 3, which is that the old gen gets nerfed while the new gen gets buffed. Naruto recently lost Kurama while Sasuke lost his Rinnegan. Even before that, in Scarlet Spring, the main duo was nerfed and unable to defeat a problem that would have been done in seconds back at the end of part 2. No fan wants to see their favorite character get surpassed and replaced by a new generation, especially one younger than them. A smarter decision would have been going far into the future so that the power ceiling can restart. The fourth problem is that Boruto tries to rehash ideas from the original. The anime allegedly has a 7 ninja swordsman arc, and the movie definitely had a Chunin exams. Not only are these ideas unoriginal, but they aren't well done, and are much less better than Naruto. Why would any fan watch a sequel that just repeats what the OG did, but worse? Why make a sequel at that point? The fifth is that the cast are clones of the original cast. Almost everyone's kid is either a copy of them, or a copy of them with a different spin. Sarada is book smart like Sakura, while Boruto is spoiled and bratty like Naruto, except for opposite reasons. Naruto had no family, while Boruto has a family, but he thinks his dad doesn't pay enough attention to him. I believe every offspring is like this. Even their designs are extremely similar, with Shikadai and Metal-Lee looking nearly identical to their parents. Additionally, they have the same jutsus as their parents, which is even more lazy. Some characters like Ino Shikacho I can understand, but Sarada having super strength and Chidori is unnecessary. Neither of those are clan jutsu. A possible argument would be that a lot of OG characters have the same jutsu as their parents, but my counter would be the presentation. Characters like Shino, Kiba, Ino Shikacho, and more do basically have the same jutsu as their parents, but from our perspective, their parents are the clones of the kids. We see the kids first, we see them fight first, and we see them significantly more than their parents. So if anything, I'd criticize the parents for being clones, but we don't see enough of them for me to complain. For this new gen, we've seen their parents for 700 chapters before we saw them, so the reaction is very different, and once again, they are done worse than Naruto. The sixth problem is simple. Nothing in Boruto compares to Naruto. Not the characters, not the plot, not the fights, nothing. In fact, I don't think Boruto has very good writing in general. If you forget the fact that it's Naruto's unwanted sequel, the story doesn't hold on its own. A lot of the writing feels incompetent in both the anime and the manga, but especially the anime. In conclusion, the combo of inherited problems from being Naruto's sequel and the bad decisions made by the writers for Boruto are what went wrong with Boruto. An 11th hour power is a power gained by a character towards the end of a story. In Jojo parts with stands, this power is gained by the protagonist during the final battle with the main antagonist of the part. I personally think that this is an issue more often than it is not. Nearly every stand part does this, and most of the time it is pretty questionable. I will be going through each part and breaking down the quality of the power and the quality of its plausibility and/or foreshadowing. Major spoilers ahead. The worst, in 6th place, is obviously Giorno's Gold Experience Requiem from Part 5. I've spoken about this in more depth in another video, but I will summarize here. The ability is overpowered, and when I say overpowered, that is never a compliment. This is the reason the actual battle between Giorno and Diavolo was terrible. As you will see in later fights, this ability has no compatibility with the enemy's ability. It is overqualified for the situation. As for the introduction, the concept of Requiem stands was set up right before the final battle, so it didn't have much time. Plus, Requiem stands were a retcon to the stand arrow, and the ability it got was not foreseeable. All of these are why I ranked it in last place. In 5th place, I have Josuke's Soft and Wet Go Beyond from Part 8. I'll shorten this to GB. GB is an invisible bubble with an explosive spin that emerges from Josuke's birthmark, made up of infinitely thin lines. These qualities come together to make a bubble that is not from this world and can transcend physics. He is unable to aim this by himself and needs the assistance of Yasuo. The quality of this ability is very mixed. It is definitely compatible with his opponent's stand, because Wonder of You basically has supernatural luck, and anyone who chases him will meet deadly misfortunes. It is basically impossible to attack him, but this ability offers a solution. The issue is how unnatural it is. Josuke's bubbles had the ability to plunder and had minor explosive properties. GB brings back the spin from Part 7, which Josuke has never trained for, and gives his bubbles the ability to simply break physics. While I like the counter to his opponent's power, GB is a huge leap from Josuke's moveset. It feels very forced. I do like that he can't aim it by himself though. This provides some sort of balance and doesn't make it completely broken. I think Wonder of You should have been given a better weakness, rather than Josuke being given such a forced ability. As for its introduction, like many others, it is introduced a little bit before the final battle. It's one fight before they start chasing Wonder of You. Mamezuku talks about Josuke's bubbles being made up of ultra thin lines that spin. It's okay, but personally this could have been alluded to in the first chapter and it still wouldn't make it any better, because Josuke being able to use spin is never hinted at or explained. In 4th place, I have Jotaro's Time Stop from Part 3. The power is self-explanatory. The quality is pretty average. It's the exact same ability as his opponent's, so of course they complement each other. It is pretty overpowered, but since the opponent has the same exact ability, this doesn't become an issue. The explicit foreshadowing comes before the final fight when Anyaba says that Dio and Jotaro's stance are similar. This is pretty late, like most parts. Then throughout the actual fight, Jotaro shows obvious hints that Anyaba's claim might be more than just their stats and appearance. Jotaro can see and later even move for a second in stopped time. While the introduction of the hints are pretty late, and some might think Anyaba's justification is BS, at least the ability makes sense compared to GER and GB. In 3rd place, I have Johnny's Infinite Spin from Part 7. When Tusk reaches Act 4, Johnny gets a spin that can break through dimensional barriers and cause the hit target's cells to spin infinitely, leaving them incapacitated. The ability is compatible with D4C's Love Train. but it's not as satisfying as part 3 or later parts because like part 8, it is an overpowered response to an overpowered ability. Love Train redirects any attacks directed at Valentine to somewhere random in the world in the form of misfortune. So an ability that transcends dimensions is kinda necessary, but like I said about part 8, I mostly blame this on the enemy stand's ability. Unlike Go Beyond, this spin doesn't have any kind of drawback, but the reason it is ranked so far ahead is because of its foreshadowing. Throughout the part, Tusk has been leveling up with Axe, similar to Koichi's Echoes. Act 1 gave Johnny spinning nails, Act 2 gave him shots that after making their mark can move their location, extending the created wound. Already, Johnny is showing a degree of spatial manipulation. In Act 3, he gets the ability to shoot himself and suck himself into a wormhole created by the shot. Once again, he is shown spatial manipulation, but to an even higher degree. So when Johnny gets Act 4, the continuation of the spatial manipulation trend makes sense. In fact, this development makes even more sense than Echoes, as from Act 2 to 3, we went from sound to gravity. While the possibility of an Act 4 was new, it also could have been predicted, because his acts are literally numbered. So the fact that this new power takes into account the acts that have been sprinkled throughout the part, along with Tusk's increasing manipulation over space, is what makes me rank this power up so high on the list. This is the first time I would consider an 11th hour power in JoJo to not be too problematic. In second place, I have Josuke's new applications from part 4. Unlike the previous part, Josuke doesn't actually receive a new ability. He just uses his original ability in creative ways. The two applications I'm talking about are the concrete shield and the homing projectile. The first has Josuke breaking the ground and fixing it into a wall. The second has Josuke mixing his blood into a projectile and firing it to the position of the dried blood on his target. Both of these were used twice and both of them were genius displays of creativity. For compatibility, Crazy Diamond's fixing and Killer Queen's explosions are a perfect match. One heals and one destroys. There is no need for justification because it's just Josuke using his abilities in a creative manner. In first place, I have Jolion's Mobius Strip in part 6. This is easily the greatest 11th hour power. It is, like Josuke, not a new power, but Jolien using her ability in a creative manner, but it is also a perfect counter to her opponent's attack. Araki must have planned Sea Moon and Stone Freeze abilities ahead of time, because the way this counter pulls no BS and makes pure sense is amazing. Sea Moon has the power to shift gravity and invert surfaces it touches. The second is the one that's important. If Sea Moon hits a part of your body, that part turns inside out. If he strikes his opponent in the head or heart, it is most likely a guaranteed kill. Jolien counters this dangerous ability by turning her body into a Mobius strip made of strings. A Mobius strip has no inside or outside, so it can't be inverted. Anytime a part of her body is struck, she turns it into a Mobius strip. The justification is self-explanatory. From the start, Stonefree allowed Jolien to turn parts of her body into strings, so there is no room for BS. I can't express how cool or genius this ability is. The Mobius strip is perfectly compatible with her opponent's ability. It's simply an application of her original ability and isn't even close to being broken. All of this makes Jolien have the best 11th hour power in JoJo. In conclusion, parts 5, 6, and 3 have questionable 11th hour powers. Part 7 has a more justified one, with a better setup and actual ability. And parts 4 and 6 have amazing powers because they are technically not 11th hour powers, as it is just an extension of their original abilities. So out of the actual power-ups, 1 out of 4 isn't questionable. This is a bad ratio, and it is really dissatisfying when the protagonist does this during the final battle, the climax of the part. That is why I say JoJo has an 11th hour power problem. I have split power systems into 3 categories: individual, universal, and expansive. In an individual power system, each person has their own unique ability that has little connection to the next person. This one ability is given to them by the author. In a universal power system, the system has a consistent trait and usually rules used by all other users of the power system. An expansive power system is always a universal power system because of the energy source used to activate the powers, but it also has the feature of having a skill tree. Power systems that are individual types are devil fruits and quirks. Each devil fruit gives the user a unique set of abilities. No character can have the same power as another, and these powers cannot be learned. Devil fruits also have very little connection to one another in terms of abilities. They have 3 categories and the weakness of seawater, but apart from those small similarities, the powers usually function in unique ways, especially Paramecia. Logia and Zoan have similarities, like all Logias can turn into their element and all Zoans can move between human and animal form, but not enough to make them feel like a united system. Quirks also have the same abilities. Each character has their own unique ability, and although there are 3 categories as well, the quirk factor is the only thing connecting one ability to the next. There aren't really any universal set of rules. Power systems can also be a mix of multiple types. Ones that are partially individual are stands, curse techniques, nen, and chakra. For stands, each stand is given a unique ability that most of the time only they can use. The power has its own unique set of rules that only it abides by. For curse techniques, innate and inherited techniques are individual. Innate can only be used by the specific character, while inherited are restricted to a family line. For nen, hatsu has this property. Each hatsu is unique to the user and usually can't be copied. For chakra, this can be seen in Kekkei Genkai. There are bloodline abilities limited to users of the clan and can't be copied or used by outsiders. Power systems that are universal are stands, alchemy, and triggers. For stands, nearly all stands have a ghost, and if not, they usually have some kind of physical manifestation like a sword or hair. Stands can only be touched by another stand and are invisible to non-stand users. Stands can only move a limited distance away from their user, and they get weaker the further away they move. These are some of the universal rules that govern the power system. For alchemy, it almost always requires a transmutation circle, even if the circle is made by clapping. It also requires the alchemist to use the 3 steps of comprehension, deconstruction, and reconstruction. For borders triggers, all triggers are available to all border agents. All of the triggers also follow the rule of Treon usage. The Treon bodies have a max limit of 8 triggers, 4 on each hand. Systems that are expansive are chakra, nen, and jujutsu. Expansives are usually universal because they have some kind of energy source like mana or chi that allows the users to use the power. But the most defining trait of an expansive power system is what I would call a skill tree. There is a starting point that all users begin from, but then there are many branches that come out after. Some branches are available to all, but just require training, while some branches are individualistic. This usually means that a greater understanding of the power system will make a combatant more skillful. Chakra has chakra as its energy source. By itself, chakra can do things like allow users to walk on water, walk up trees, or stick to kunai. There are universal concepts like chakra, chakra points, and hand signs. For actual jutsu, chakra has many branches. General jutsu like substitution and body flicker are available to everyone. There's also branches for ninjutsu, taijutsu, and genjutsu. Under ninjutsu, there's shape and nature transformation, and so forth. The only branches that are individualistic are clan jutsu to a degree, and Kekkei Genkai. For nen, there is nen as the energy source, and by itself, it can perform techniques like ten, ren, zetsu, and hatsu. Characters can learn even higher levels and go down branches like Gyo, In, En, Shu, Ko, Ken, and Ryu. There are also universal concepts like aura and aura nodes. For hatsu, characters have their individual branch, but can learn new abilities with their initial technique and mix other nen types into their moves. For example, Gon is an enhancer, but he branched out to rock, paper, scissors, with each of them having a different nen type. For curse techniques, cursed energy is the energy source. By itself, it can be used as reinforcement to make a person stronger or faster. Cursed energy also flows with physical attacks, allowing the opponent to predict them. Each character has their individual innate or inherited technique, but all techniques have universal branches. These are a reverse curse technique and domain expansion. They just need to be learned. There are also general techniques like simple domain and curtain that anyone can learn. In summary, the 3 types of power systems are individual, universal, and expansive. Power systems can have elements of multiple types or be restrained to one. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, share, subscribe, and help me revolutionize the manga industry by buying my manga and spreading the word. All important links will be in the description.